Good morning. I am looking forward, I'm hopeful that in the next couple weeks we'll be able to meet in person and I won't have to just say good morning to a camera and have this nice music stand that I was using and that I use for the opening part of the service, but I figured my hair is so white, up against the black music stand you can actually see my face instead of just bleeding into all of the white walls around us. So I say again, good morning to you. I am Pastor Brian Dillahunt. I told you that a while ago, but just to remind you, since we haven't seen each other. And I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Let me get this straight. My name is, I'm known as Pastor Brian. Pastor is my title, not necessarily my name. It's who I am. But it's not what I was called when I was a little kid your age. I was called Brian. And what's weird about that is that most of the time in my family, they always gave everybody family names. I had my great, I think fifth great grandfather who came to Ohio. He was born in 1810 and his name was George Washington Dillahunt, Jr., which meant that his dad was George Washington Dillahunt and would have been born sometime when George Washington was alive. But George Washington Dillahunt Jr. had a son that he named after a war hero. And so his name was Oliver Hazard Perry Dillahunt. You know Perry County, just to the east of us? That's who that's named for. Well, Oliver Hazard Perry Dillahunt had a son he simply named Oliver Perry Dillahunt because he must not have been much of a hazard. And Oliver Perry Dillahunt had a son he just named Oliver. And then he had another son that he named Samuel Perry. I don't know why he named him Samuel Perry, except that his wife's dad's name was Samuel Perry. So Samuel Perry Dillahunt didn't like being called Samuel Perry Dillahunt, so he just said, call me Paul. Well, Paul Dillahunt had a son he named Leonard Elwood, not at all connected to anybody that anyone knew of. And when Leonard got married, Leonard and his wife, Mary Alice, decided that they weren't going to use family names because there were too many people with the same name running around. So their first child they named Karen. Their second child, they decided that even though they weren't going to use family names, they would go a little bit further back and name for generals in the United States Army. So their first son they named Mark for General Mark Clark and Douglas for Douglas MacArthur. So my older brother is named Mark Douglas. Then I came along. They still didn't want to use family names. But everybody kept saying, why don't you use family names? So my mom's dad's name was Paul and my dad's name was Paul. So I was named Brian because it went well with Paul. There you've got that. They gave up on trying not to use family names when my next brother came along and chose my great-grandpa's name. Now, the reason I tell you that is because names are very important to people. But we all have a deeper name. That is one that we don't use, but is true to who we are. And that is that we are all called by God, his son or his daughter. And God claims us as his son or his daughter at the time that we're baptized. That's when we take on a whole bigger family than we ever thought possible. Because when we are baptized, we're baptized not just into a family of people we can see, but into a whole long line that stretches back 2,000 years. And amazingly, we're united with a whole long line that goes forward 2,000 years and beyond. So what I want you to think about is that when you were named at your baptism, you're connected not just with your 5 times your great, 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 great grandma and grandpa, but you're connected with your great, 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 great grandson or daughter, even those that we can't possibly imagine. How tremendous is that, family? I look forward to seeing you. Peace.